think then I want to go back to two things that I don't understand yet at all. One is emptiness, and the other one is self-consciousness.
Okay, those are both, you got to do those both. Yeah, so emptiness, you have plenty of books that cover that.
Yeah.
And if you need help, just let me know. I'll be happy to help. But I can't do that work for you because it doesn't work, number one.
Okay.
And what was the second thing?
Self-consciousness.
What questions about self-consciousness?
So I still feel like it still feels that just not having selfish thought is like the step one. But
No, see, what do you care about besides yourself that's bigger than you?
that's bigger than me.
Okay, what do you care about besides yourself and your family and your colleagues at work and your friends?
I mean, I don't want people to feel pain.
Okay, what are you doing about that?
I mean, I'm just trying to improve myself.
See, but we're back to yourself.
Yeah. But then we
This is,
talked
by the
about
way,
that-
this is probably why the Buddhists, the Mahayana Buddhists, they make it very clear from the outset. The purpose of this whole enterprise, this whole project, is to how do they say it? Now to the end of the. Basically, they're going to enlighten all sentient beings. Until all sentient beings are enlightened, my job's not done.
Yeah.
They put it like that because they understand the power of that. And it's not focused on you, on yourself, and what you're going to get out of this. Because that's the kiss of death in this work.
But then I remember you told me last time that working to wake up is not selfish.
It's not selfish, but it's a separate question. I mean, you have to be selfish to be worried about being selfish, as opposed to just so you can't remove something. Okay, let me tell you a story. Common story. Some girl, nice girl, but she's hanging around with the wrong kind of guy in high school, right? And she gets in trouble. Maybe she stole some booze from a liquor store or something with her boyfriend or something like that. She's, it's not something serious, maybe a little more serious than that. The judge says, young lady, we're not going to throw you in juvenile prison or whatever, but we're going to set some conditions. Number one, you have to meet with your probation officer. Number two, you're going to get drug screened. And number three, you're going to go to AA meetings, right? And number four, we don't ever want you to see that boy again. How well do you think that works?
It doesn't work that well.
Exactly, it doesn't work, right? So you're talking about taking something away from yourself. You're focused on self and self-achievement, accomplishment, and acquisition, but you don't have anything to replace it with. So, I mean, that's just the rule of the universe, right? Kind of, I guess. If you take water out of a cup, it leaves a hollow, right? And so it should be filled with something, right? Hopefully with something good, something better, something more useful. Right? And I mean, but see, now you're going for being happy and joyful, right? Because that's what joyful people do. They care about something other than themselves, usually bigger than themselves. And they care about others, just like, it's our nature. Some of us anyway, right? And so you can't take something away from your psyche, if you want to call it that, at this stage and not replace it with something. Or you're going to feel like you're losing something. Something's being taken away, and that'll make you angry. You just told me earlier on, right? And as long as you've got a self, you're very vulnerable to fear. Because you still think you're going to die. So yeah, if I thought I was going to die, I'd be afraid too, I guess. But that's not the case. So,
So it sounds like an important step is to cultivate this thing about caring about others or doing something other than yourself.
More than one tradition considers compassion and wisdom the two requirements. Compassion and wisdom. Wisdom without compassion is useless. Compassion without wisdom is dangerous. Well, we see that all over the place. People be like, "Oh, I'm so compassionate, right? I'm going to let all the prisoners loose, right? I'm so compassionate. I'm not going to enforce the law because to do that, I mean, the kid doesn't know better not to steal." Now, I'm not saying the kid's to blame at all. Not at all is a kid to blame if he hasn't been taught that stealing is wrong, right? That the person to blame is the grown-ups. But I'm saying just to say, oh well, we'll just be compassionate and just like give everybody everything they want. Well, that's just childish, and everybody knows that, right? Mm-hmm. That's not compassion. That's laziness. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not talking about that kind of compassion. I'm talking about the kind that says, hey, when I look at the world, there are people suffering. There are people in pain. Mm-hmm. How can I help them? Mm-hmm. And the answer is, first, you got to help yourself. But the motivation by which you help yourself is vitally important. It's critical. I've never heard of anybody get enlightened for themselves. And if they did, man, are they in trouble when they wake up, because you realize, well, first of all, you've never seen anything in the world yet. Everything's brand new. It's like brand new. You go, whoa, what's that? You see two kids and you go, whoa, well, look at those creatures. They're amazing, right? I mean, in the back of your head, you kind of know they're human and this and that, but they're just so beautiful. They're just luminous, perfect beings. And so, but there's no self there. And if you bring yourself into it, it's over. It's gone. I mean, so attachment to self is the opposite of waking up. Mm-hmm. And that it's very confusing for folks because they think, it's we've got layer and layer and layer and layer and layer from every century, right? People have been working at this. And at different times, they use different words to correct for the prior century, right? You see this especially in Zen, right? Mm-hmm. But in all of them, right? Except for maybe Taoism, because it really hasn't been improved because it's so simple, right? And it accords with nature. And it doesn't require any costumes or priests or religion or holy books or any of that stuff. It just uses the nature, the mind of God, right, as its guide. Mm-hmm. But I can tell you right now that if you did wake up and then you had a thought for yourself, boom, the door just closes in the beginning. Mm-hmm. Maybe not quite that dramatically, but you can tell. You can go, every time you think of self, it just gets a little bit dimmer. So you can't head two different opposite directions at the same time. And this is what we mean about aligning the heart, mind, body, and soul towards one goal. Is that making some sense, I hope?
Yeah, so it seems that the motivation for waking up should be compassion for others, not for yourself.
Well, okay, those two parts, right? Mm-hmm. The first one, I'll just say, I've never heard of anybody who did it for themselves, and I can say that it's the opposite. There is no self there, okay? And when you realize that, you'll go, duh. That's why they call it finding the nose on your face. Mm-hmm. I think it was the 10th century in China. They called it finding the nose on your face, waking up. Mm-hmm. But it's the exact opposite of a self.
So, like for someone in my position who wants to wake up, mm-hmm. but then currently and the reason and the motivation for me is because I don't know how things work. I don't know the reality. So I first need that before I can even do something else. It's like the step one.
Who are you talking to? To me or to reality?
I'm talking to you.
I'm not here. What you're saying doesn't make any sense. But try again. Go ahead.
So for me, the motivation to wake up is first this, like without knowing the truth, then it doesn't make sense to live. So I want to know the truth. That is the motivation. Okay.
What's the problem?
But then that is tied to the self.
How?
Because if I fail, then life would be wasted.
Who cares? Do you know how many billions of people there are on this planet?
Yeah, there are, 7 billion or more, yeah.
Yeah, so, okay, so If there's no, okay, the only reason you failed is because there's a you there, right? But if you learn enough about emptiness, you'll realize that there's no you there. There's no way there can be a you there. Not neurobiologically, not philosophically, not scientifically, not psychologically. So I don't know where you get this delusion. I mean, I know where you got it, but you got to get rid of it. But you got to get rid of it the right way. You got to understand why this is so. Some of us do. Now others, we don't have to, right? We just wake up, like Ramana Maharshi. But the rest of us, we got to do some work and figure out, well, what the hell is this emptiness stuff? Mm-hmm. So nobody can do it but you. But there is no you. So you got to. What you are is this combination of causes, conditions, factors, and all kinds of other things.
Yeah.
And if you pump garbage in there, you get garbage out. It's like anything else. Mm-hmm. But if you pump good stuff in there, you get good stuff out. Mm-hmm. And in any case, you'll end up a lot happier and a lot better at everything you do, and a lot easier to be around, and a lot more successful, if that's what you want. Mm-hmm. Even if you don't wake up, right? Because all this stuff is good stuff. Patience, discipline, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But you got to know some things, right? So, yeah, I don't see the problem here. It's just a matter of work.
Okay, so to understand...
Until you finally say, hey, wait a minute, this isn't work. This is kind of what I'm here for. Mm-hmm. I mean, is it work for a tree to put leaves out in the spring?
No, that's natural.
Is it work for the tree to drop its leaves in the fall?
No, that's also...
Okay, well, your nature is the same as Buddha's. Mm-hmm. Your mind is Buddha mind. But you've got all this garbage heaped on top of it, right? So you can't see it. That's all. Just get rid of that stuff and it's there. You don't have to get anything. It's already there. That's who you are. That's what you are.
And to get rid of that stuff, for me, like what is the next thing that should be done?
You've got to understand emptiness.
Emptiness.
Deeply. Profoundly.
Mm-hmm. And the books for those are like the flower ornament, or
that's one of them. That's a great one. And by the way, there's another chapter in there. I'll tell you about it offline or something like that, because I can't remember the name of it. But where you can work in different time frames, simultaneously. A day and the night of a world called shiny emeralds is an epoch, or 1,000 epochs in the world called blazing diamond. And a day and a night of the world called blazing diamond is 10 million epochs in another world. And so you got to work. It's a labor of love, I suppose you could call it that. Mm-hmm. But I don't remember the particular chapter. We'll look into that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, or ask me on X. That's best, because that way other people learn too. Mm-hmm. People who aren't as fortunate. Mm-hmm. So if you want to help people, I mean, it's very easy to help people. Then people need help. They're scared. They're confused, and it's going to get worse. Mm-hmm. Right?
Got it.
Okay.